Houston Real Estate Radio starts right now.
Welcome to Houston Real Estate Radio. I'm your host, Shannon Register, and this week we've got a great show lined up for you. I'm excited about it. As always, if you have real estate questions, you can call us here at the studio at 281-882-8088, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. We'd like to answer those questions on the air. You can also find information about today's show if you are driving in the car and you're getting close to where you're going to stay and you need to listen to this later. You can always go to our website at HoustonRealEstateRadio.com. We do videotape each of our segments and put them on the website. So if it's something you're interested in, make sure that you tune in online if you miss any of today's show, because we got some great stuff going on. Right now, I have Gil Staley here in the studio with me. He serves as the CEO for the Woodlands Area Economic Development Partnership. And really, we've been chatting here before the show. There's so much to talk about. We had trouble narrowing it down because the Woodlands and that whole area is just growing so much. So we're so glad to have you on the show to talk about it.
It's indeed my pleasure. Always enjoy talking about our area and the activity.
Most people know about the biggest thing happening in the area, or what's been referred to as the biggest thing, which is ExxonMobil moving in our direction. So what can you tell us about that project?
That was forever known as the Project Delta, and that is the elephant in the room that everyone was talking about, but no one knew anything officially. Sure, it's here. It's under construction, obviously, as we speak, ready to move in, partially 2014, completed by 2015, 10,000 people, millions of square feet of office space. It is, in fact, the largest construction project going on right now in the country.
Wow. Right here in our backyard.
Even larger than the World Trade Center construction project, which is again, several million square feet of office space going under construction. So it is the largest one. And if you think about it, 10,000 people relocating, nothing that we've ever seen.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. A lot of people to house, a lot of people who are going to need, to be able to access transportation, a lot of people to feed. It's a lot of trickle-down effect for a lot of other companies and businesses.
And then those companies that want to do business or are doing business with ExxonMobil want to be close to them. So that trickle-down goes all the way into those that want to do business with them or certainly under contract to do business.
Sure, banking institutions, other financial institutions, and attorneys. I mean, you've got so many things that go with a big company.
Exactly.
So it's exciting. Everybody talks about it. It's the exciting thing going on. So we always want to mention that. So tell us about the Woodlands Area Economic Development Partnership. Tell us exactly what is that?
Who are we? Well, first of all, we are the lead organization for economic development in the Woodlands area. And we spun out of the Chamber of Commerce, the Woodlands Area Chamber of Commerce, almost 16 years ago. And our mission at the time was simply that of business retention, as we call it, even today.
Not business recruiting, but business retention.
Think about, again, 16 years ago, the Woodlands Operating Company, as it was known then, owned all the assets, owned all the land, the buildings, real estate, anything at all to do with commercial and residential, they controlled. So once they sold a building, or they occupied a building or sold a parcel of land, they were whole. And so the business community thought, what is going to happen to those companies after they mature? They could relocate again away from our community. So we started out, as I said, 16 years ago to simply address the issue of keeping the companies that we had. That's morphed, and that's certainly changed over the 16 years. So now we certainly are still doing business retention, a viable part of our mission, but also business recruitment. And we actively are out consistently recruiting companies to come to our area.
And Texas is such a great place for companies to move to because of not having the income tax issues that some states have. What are some of the other incentives that you use to bring in companies?
Well, the most popular, obviously, are and upfront incentives are tax abatements. And we have a very pro-business local government, and for that I'm very thankful. And that comes from the Woodlands Township or the other cities that we serve, like Shenandoah and Oak Ridge North, but then the county, Montgomery County, so very pro-business growth that we're very fortunate to help those when it's needed, to offer those when it's needed. And then we look to the state for help also in some cases where the Governor's Office of Economic Development will help us with money from the Enterprise Fund, which is what we call the Deal Closing Fund. That's a cash grant for companies coming from out of state or out of the country.
To come relocate here.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that we've used to our advantage also to close a deal. We've used that certainly locally.
Mm-hmm. And you said that you were originally part of the Chamber of Commerce. Are y'all still part of the Chamber?
We are. We operate under the umbrella of their 501c6.
Okay.
So we're a nonprofit. However, we are funded separately, and we have a separate board of directors. We're a nonprofit, as they say, but it's also a public nonprofit, a private nonprofit, and we are supported by members, similarly to the chamber, but again, separate members. And
are most of those members people who have donated money, or can they be people who have not donated?
Our members are those, as we call them, partners, actually invest in what we do. So we have different membership levels that they come into and invest. It's both public and private. As I said, it's a public-private partnership. Publicly, the Woodlands Township, the cities of Shenandoah and Oak Ridge North. Even colleges like Lone Star College, that's a publicly funded organization.
So you're getting property tax money.
Exactly, and Sam Houston State University. So that's publicly funded organizations. And then privately, major employers, the largest major employers, service companies, service organizations, CPA firms, attorneys, banks, etc.
Second to the Exxon project, would Anadarko be the second biggest employer in the Woodlands?
Oh, most definitely. Well, if you look at a corporate employer, that is the largest employer.
Currently, yeah.
The largest employer in the entire county is not uncommon at all amongst communities, actually is our school district. Conroe Independent School District is the largest employer, but the largest commercial or corporate employer is Anadarko, most definitely.
And can you tell us about any projects that are going on? Any big companies that are going to be moving here that would be interesting to our listeners? Because, there are a lot of people out there who, even though the economy is going so well, there are still people who are struggling, still people who need jobs. And so this is a lot of good information for them to know. What's happening? What kind of companies are you bringing to the area?
Well, most recently, and we'll go from there. Most recently, Lane Christensen, and they are now here. They're in temporary office space. They're moving into a brand new building that should be completed in September. It's called One Hughes Landing. That could be another 10-minute conversation. It's a wonderful project. It's happening on the east side of Lake Woodlands. Multi-use parcel that developed by the Woodlands Development Company. Lane Christensen came to us from Kansas City area. And when I mentioned that the governor's office has helped us, that was one case where we went to the governor's office because they were seriously looking at the Atlanta metro area, Atlanta, Georgia area to relocate. So it was down to us and that location in Atlanta. We needed that help from the governor's office, as it simply says, to close the deal. And we did. So we have their headquarters now.
Okay. And what kind of company is that? What do they do?
Well, it's an interesting one. It's a drilling company primarily. They do infrastructure.
Oil and gas related.
Water was their primary mission, water infrastructure around the world. But your listeners will know this. They also are involved in mining. Do you remember the Chilean miners that were trapped? The whole world knew about that.
Right.
Lane Christensen was who saved them, has actually ultimately drilled the shaft.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
That saved them, and that they're very proud of and should be. In fact, that's on the front of their annual report. They are truly a good win for us. They're bringing to us about 210 jobs, well-paying professional jobs, and that's a wonderful niche market that we have. Their payroll alone is about $22 million, which is a substantial amount of spend for a community, but it's one that as you said, trickles down and supports a lot of businesses in that kind of relocation or headquarters. Before that, Waste Connections. Waste Connections is another company that came to us from out of state, came to us from the Sacramento area. They were, in fact, the largest publicly traded company in Sacramento. And quite honestly, and they were founded in California. Their chairman, their founder, is from California, had enough. And the business environment there was not friendly enough and not conducive for him to do business anymore. And he moved it. He moved it, thankfully, to Texas, but certainly the Woodlands. And so now it's home. They're in fact moving in now as we speak into a brand new building called 3 Waterway Square.
So isn't the Woodlands almost built out? Where are these companies going to go?
I get that question a lot, but the two examples I just provided, one Hughes Landing and 3 Waterway Square, both of them 200,000 square feet plus buildings. It doesn't take a large amount of land to put that size building on. So
mostly high-rise buildings.
It is, and that again lends itself to the type of companies that we're attracting, and that is good for our area headquarters, administrative, professional type jobs. So there's still a lot of land to develop, albeit not large parcels, but enough really great located parcels to build straight up on.
All right. Well, it's good to know it's not completely built out yet, right?
No, it is not.
Very good. All right. So how are we going to house all of these people?
Another great question. I get that frequently because I talk about job growth a lot, and we're so very fortunate to be in such a dynamic job growth area, because we are a destination for jobs now. But where are they going to live? And the Woodlands is approximately, last figure I heard was about 87% built out residentially. But you can drive in any direction right now and see some fantastic real estate for residential housing and master plan communities like Wood Forest, Imperial Oaks, Bender's Landing, the new Toll Brothers project that was announced. Then certainly we just talked about it off air, Springwoods Village that's coming online. And then north, it's just recently announced Johnson Development coming into what was the George Strait Ranch. Residential certainly needs to catch up, and that concerns us all, no matter where we are in the Houston region.
With the shortage of housing that we're having right now, it is a concern. It is.
It is.
It's going to be interesting how it all pans out.
But it will.
It will. It all works itself out. That's right. All right. Well, we thank you so much, Gil, for coming in and sharing this great information with us about the Woodlands. There are so many people that all of this affects. So it's great to have you in. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back after a commercial break here on Houston Real Estate Radio.